What's up, guys? You're watching 2-Bit Geek, and I'm TJ, your host. Been gone for a couple of weeks on vacation, but I'm back with some more reviews from DC's New 52. First up is Batwing number 2, which is coming along pretty nicely. I really like Ben Oliver's take on the art. He's got a really cool design for Batwing and for the villain of the piece, which is called Massacre. And the comic itself is pretty gruesome without being too bloody, if that makes any sense. And on Judd Winnick's side, he's really starting to kind of slowly, gradually define Batwing as his own character. I was concerned in the first issue that he was kind of just a Batman clone. He's got kind of his own Batcave area with his own Alfred. To be honest, it was all just a little too close to Batman for my taste. But maybe Judd feels like we need more gradual breakaway from that. I mean, he is a member of the Bat family. But you are starting to see that Batwing is just a little bit more young and more impulsive than Batman. He's still learning. And it is kind of fun to see it evolve as it happens. We're also seeing this fictitious part of Africa start to grow its own mythology, its own backstory. So it's starting to flesh out. Still keeping an eye on Batwing. I recommend you take a look at it. So moving on to Men of War number 2, which is DC's kind of modern take on a war comic. We do learn a little bit more about Sergeant Rock here. There's some nice panels and flashbacks that kind of show, you know, his life so far, which we didn't really get into the first issue. And those were pretty cool. I liked how they were illustrated. It fleshes him out a little bit. But what really drew me to this comic was the idea of, you know, your common everyday soldiers, or at least, you know, mortal men, going up against superhero threats. And unfortunately, we really don't get to see that. So far, both issues have kind of built up to that, but then stepped back at the last moment. And it's pretty frustrating. Also, the storytelling in this issue is pretty weak. A lot of what you were reading didn't go along with what you were seeing. There's a lot of military jargon in there with, you know, little asterisks telling you what it means. And all that seemed pretty unnecessary to me. And also, following the story was tough because Sergeant Rock's hurt, and then he doesn't want to take command, then he's barking orders, then you're somewhere else. And I didn't really understand maybe about half of what was going on. And then, like I said, at the very end, they kind of step back from confronting the, you know, superpowered guys like you're kind of expecting and hoping for them to. So I'm going to be dropping this title. Not impressed with Men of War. Kind of a disappointment, but what are you going to do? So moving right along from there is Huntress number 1. And this is not technically part of the New 52, I guess, because it's a limited series. It's missing the badging on the title. And it's a limited series of 6. But it's written by Paul Levitz with art by Marcus To. And the reason that I picked it up is because I'm determined to find a female character in the DCU that I can basically be a fan of. I'm not a big fan of Wonder Woman, just never liked the character. And I'm kind of on this quest to find a female hero that I like, just on general principle, basically. I was talking to a friend of mine about comics the other day, and the only female character I could come up with off the top of my head was Harley Quinn, and that's not really a shining example of anything except maybe craziness. So I wanted to come up with somebody else that I like, just because there are tons of strong female characters out there in the world at large, but in the DCU not so much. And that's kind of been an issue lately, especially with the travesty of Starfire and Red Hood and the Outlaws, which I haven't gotten to yet. Maybe I can get another review out soon. But there's a lot of controversy on female characters in the DCU, and Huntress is a character that I've always liked as an idea. She's not always executed very well. She tends to be very one-note as far as, you know, just wanting to take out the mob, basically. And there's always a conflict with other characters when she wants to kill somebody. And that's basically all I know about Huntress in comics. In Justice League Unlimited, she has some pretty cool episodes with the Question. I just like the design of her, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to take and do something more with her. And so far, Paul Levitz and Marcus To have really been able to do that. She doesn't come off as super angsty like she does a lot of the time. She's always been able to fight, that's not a problem. But what's cool about this series is she comes off as very suave as well. In and out of the costume, she can get things done, and I really like that aspect to it. I'm not sure that Huntress is going to be like a breakaway hit yet, but I like what I see so far. I like that it's in Italy, and it has a very different look than, you know, kind of the rest of the comics. And that's something that's needed, I think. Hopefully Huntress will turn out to be good. If you're curious, load it up on Comixology and look at the sample. Go into your local comic book shop. Just check it out for yourself. Next up, I've got OMAC, which is fast becoming one of my favorite titles in the New 52. It's basically just a big, colorful, fun comic. Dan Didio and Keith Giffen are an excellent choice for this title. Very reminiscent and paying homage to Jack Kirby's days, and I like it. In my review of the first issue, I kind of expressed a concern that we're seeing a lot of OMAC, but not a lot of Kevin, which is the real guy underneath. And this issue kind of makes that right. It has a lot to do with Kevin's kind of realization on what's happening to him. Brother Eye is trying to convince him, hey, I've got a hold of you now, and you're not going to get away. Kevin, of course, wants to resist, and it basically all has to do with Kevin until the very end, when they have the knockdown, drag-out fight that you see right there on the cover. But so far, OMAC is a really good example of just how fun a comic can be without getting into all the angsty anti-hero type stuff. A lot of times we get so wrapped up in that, but it's fun to have just a out there fun comic, and that's what OMAC is. I was kind of thinking that's what Justice League International would be. Unfortunately, I didn't pick up that title this round because I was a little disappointed in it in issue number 1. I may pick it up later, I may not. But if you're just looking for a fun comic, hey, what's as fun? Like an electric blue mohawk. So last but not least, I've got Detective Comics number 2. I really was impressed with Detective Comics number 1. A lot of people were surprised that I actually prefer it over Batman number 1. I know Scott Snyder's got a lot of accolades for his work on the Batman titles. But to me, Batman number 1 felt like Batcomputer number 1. It basically all had to do with technology and not very much on Batman being a great detective, and I didn't like that too much. But with Detective Comics, you've got more of that, you know, mystery, some creepy people. I really like the Dollmaker thing. I think Dollmaker's new for the new 52. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. So I'm really liking, you know, the whole Joker Dollmaker aspect to it. What I don't like are the soap opera pages that DC seems to want to shoehorn into every single issue. It's kind of weird. There's always been a love interest, you know, that's a normal thing. But it's kind of to an extreme. You've got Batman juggling this reporter and Catwoman. You got Batwoman pining over Renee Montoya. You've got a cat fight starting in the background of Mr. Terrific. It's just kind of everywhere, and it makes me wonder what the heck's going on. I don't want my comics to be like The Bachelor. It's pretty weird. But for me, that was the only kind of bump for issue number 2. But it's like kind of a major bump because it's the first, you know, 5 or 6 pages of what's only a 20-page comic. So I don't need that. I guess what I'm saying is I'd prefer less booty call and more justice for all. So hopefully with the next few issues, we'll see more detective work and less other stuff, because it's just weird. But aside from that, I do think Tony Daniel's doing a good job on Detective Comics. So hopefully if you're looking for a Batman title, you can check it out. But that's just my 2 bits. As always, if you've got a comment, feel free to leave it below. If you like this video, I encourage you to follow me on Facebook or Twitter, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.